Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Salesforce. It is time for another update, and for this talk I have already prepared you for this idea of a wave 5 to materialize in the previous update. I have shared that on the 7th of June, and as we were pushing lower we had already broken internal levels of support that would have allowed the direct extensions higher. I was highlighting how it would be ideal for this structure to form one additional low and to start the white wave 5 from a fresh base, right? Now, the ideal target for the white wave 4 would still remain the 38.2% retracement at $129. I wouldn't actually change a thing about that. We also have significant structural support at this level, and it is a very common level to bottom within a wave 4. Why? Well, it is generally where the lower degree wave 4 had already bottomed. In the case of this structure, I might already be able to start looking for a bottom. I am starting to see some signs of a reversal. I am starting to see some signs of an opportunity here. And for those of you who are interested, you could start even looking for positions, given that you do it with proper risk management, because it is still very, very early. And the risk of actually failing is actually quite high at this point. Now, to bring you up to speed, we are tracking a wave 4. I am looking for 3 waves down. I have a couple of counts I could assign for the structure we have at hand. I could have the wave A to have a bottom here. This is wave B top. And then I would have the wave C currently extending. I could also consider the wave B had topped here. The wave A would have bottomed here. It would be a pretty classic zigzag pattern. I have no issue with either of these counts. And maybe if we even consider that the ideal target of the wave C would have been reached in both interpretations, we can maybe start to be more open to the idea of a bottom. Now, I do know that Wall Street actually hates these software stocks currently, even though they're still actually growing quite nicely. Salesforce is doing pretty well, and based on PE ratios, forward PE ratios, which is probably even more valuable, they can typically be considered to be undervalued. These stocks can be considered to be cheap, but I wouldn't necessarily use that as a buy the dip reasoning. After all, there is no confirmation of a bottom, and sure, we have fulfilled the minimum expectations of this wave 4, but that doesn't mean it cannot go even lower. Then, even to complete this wave 5, well, we could typically expect it to take several years actually. Even if the targets are actually quite attractive, based on the count I am actually tracking currently, I would be looking at $7 and higher for this wave 5. It could take some time, and it might also need to be slightly decreased, as the wave 4 might actually form a reset. This is actually based on the bottom of this wave 4, as I am looking at the 38.2% extension of this entire structure, right? This would be just over $700, $740 to be even closer. And to be clear, it could go even higher. The golden pocket we have here is up to $2,000. But once again, this can be expected to take several years to actually materialize, even in a successful follow-through of this expectation. Now, with that said, let's get into the smaller time frame, because, as I was saying, the opportunity is actually already here. And in the case of this stock, let's resume to the previous count. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. There we go. And I am focusing specifically on this wave 5. Within this structure, I am tracking an impulse, and I would actually believe that we would be typically able to consider it complete. I could track something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and there we go. We don't actually need any further lows. Now, does this mean that the bottom is in? Not necessarily. I could work out the count into actually allowing even further lows. I could consider this wave 5 to be in the very late stages of the structure, but it would actually need to consider this being a wave 4 correction and a wave 5 to complete this pattern, maybe even ideally taking us to the 38.2% retracement at $129. Again, that is not necessary, but I would actually like to see that level reached. And then that would imply that the wave 1 would have bottomed here. This would have been the wave 2 top, wave 3 down, wave 4 up, and the wave 5 down. In this scenario, I would currently have 3 waves in place, but I would have to count this structure as the wave 5 generally. And even then, I would actually probably prefer 1 or 2 additional highs. Now, why would I be looking for a bottom if this is actually following the path of a 3-wave structure within a wave 4 correction? Well, I am not too convinced of this count actually. So if I were to consider an ABC structure within a yellow wave 4, and let me even add an internal count just to help you visualize what I am actually talking about. So let's say I would be looking for this yellow wave 4. I would have been happy to have a top in place right here, where I have this as an internal wave 3, and let me change this to a smaller degree. I would have considered a wave A up here, a wave B down here, and the wave C actually complete. I would have liked for this structure to start the wave 5 from these levels. But since we have gotten another high, especially given the strength of it, I am more inclined to believe that we could be looking for a bottom, that I could track instead a series of 1-2 setups, where right now I would be looking for a wave 3 to take place and allow this structure to extend to much higher levels, potentially, as I was saying, allowing a bottom to be in place within the larger white wave 4. So this is already a possibility, and breaking $172.50 would be a first great signal of this being a reality. Sure, I would like a sustained break, but it is still early. So I go into the internal structure where I can start looking for a position where, yes, I am looking for a wave 3, and this wave 3 would be comprised of an impulse. I could have another wave 1 up, a wave 2 down here, then wave 3, 4, and 5, and so on. I might not necessarily expect to see such clarity in the case of this structure. I could consider it very realistic to be looking instead maybe at a series of 1-2 setups that would allow a wave 3 to actually be starting at any point now. And in this scenario, I would be watching the 50% retracement, because when I'm looking at such an internal wave 3, I want to see strength. I want to see strong momentum. I do not want to see the 50% broken. I do not want to see an internal deep retracement 1-2 setup. That would actually be a weakness sign. And honestly, I'd probably prefer to not even reach the 50% retracement in the case of this setup. So I'm not trying to be looking for the exact count that could take place here. I do see the possibility of building another wave 1 up and a wave 2 correction the same way we have done a couple of times now. But for that to be a reality, I would still expect to hold a 50% retracement, at least at this point in time, as the current structure within even a supposed wave 1 is missing a few highs. This wave 1 needs to be a 5-wave pattern, so I'm looking for an impulse. So internally, I am actually tracking something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I do not want to see the 50% retracement broken. In fact, I want to see strength even in the case of this structure. Now, with what we currently have at hand, I already see 3 waves down. The third wave down seems to still be unfolding, but primarily I'd be looking for that to be a wave C, and the ideal target would be the 100% extension of the wave A, which in the case of this structure is $163. As I am looking at this to potentially bottom, I am looking for a wave 4 low and the wave 5 to take us in continuation to higher prices if it doesn't manage to build something even more bullish. As I was saying, a potential series of 1-2 setups where a wave 3 could explode even past the 50% retracement here. Now, this is actually a very short-term setup, but if we manage to hold the current levels and follow through within these expectations, we can start looking for a bottom. If we cannot do this, however, I would need to instead start expecting that the yellow structure is taking charge, that we are looking still for continuation to even lower prices, even though we don't have necessarily the most ideal structure for this yellow wave 4. So from a large time frame perspective, if you're not looking for short-term opportunities, I believe we could consider to already be in a pretty good area. Yeah, we are looking at maybe one additional low. And if we even get that additional low, yeah, once we have this yellow wave 5, let's say, in place, and we start seeing some signs of a bottom, that would be another very opportunistic time to look for the reversal. And for now, we will stop here with this update. If you want even more from me, you can check out the Patreon. But yeah, for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. And if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.